Mrs. Mahone.
Hello, Ms. Allard. Thank you for scheduling this conference.
Hello. Hi, Mrs. Allard. Hi, Jonathan. Good to see you both. Thank you for coming to this meeting. I scheduled it so we could go over the results of an assessment or a test that I had given Jonathan, and so we could talk about the next steps and what we need to do to help Jonathan.
Okay, great.
Okay. First, I would like to say that Jonathan is a great student, and he is such a pleasure to have in class, and he puts in a lot of effort and tries really hard, and he is such a nice young man.
Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that.
Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about the test. I had administered a test with Jonathan called the Brigance assessment a couple of weeks ago. Do you remember that test, Jonathan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And this test determines a student's grade level ability in many different subjects. And I had tested him so far just in reading because he has an IEP in reading. And based on his OAA test scores, and after I've talked to his reading teacher, it seems that reading is the subject that he struggles with the most. He does very well in math and all his other subjects, so those aren't really much of a concern. It's just mainly reading. So those were the tests that I had focused on when I had given him the Brigance tests. So I would like to show you copies of the test and the results. And
How do you do?
well, he did well, and we can go over those results now. So I had given him 3 separate tests over a 2-day time period. I didn't want to give him all of the tests in one day because I thought that would be too overwhelming for him. And first I had given him what is called a word recognition grade placement test, which is used to determine the grade level at which Jonathan reads words. And I had asked him to pronounce a list of words. And do you remember doing that with me? Okay. And I started him at the 5th grade level, and as long as he pronounced 5 words out of 10 words correctly, then he moves up a grade level. So I started him at 5th grade, and at that grade level, he read 8 words out of 10 correctly. And then I gave him the 6th grade list, and he had read 6 words out of 10 words correctly. So I moved him up to the 7th grade word list, and from there he read 4 words out of 10 correctly. So this assessment focuses on his word recognition skills at a grade level and gives us an appropriate starting point for which we can start the other Brigance assessments, and that's what I had done. I had used the results from the word recognition assessment to determine what grade level to start him on with the other tests that I had given him. So based on that test, since he reads words at the 6th grade level, I had started him at the 6th grade level at the word recognition assessment. So, and then I'd given him another assessment to determine what grade level he comprehends an oral passage. So I read a passage or a couple of paragraphs to Jonathan and then asked him to respond orally to me out loud to 5 multiple choice questions that I had asked. Do you remember doing that? Okay. And then when I had asked him the questions and he had answered, the assessment results placed him at a grade level when he achieves 80% accuracy at that grade level. He had, based on the results, he listens and comprehends at the 6th grade level. And so the results only show us what Jonathan is able to do, how he reads and comprehends in a short amount of time. So these paragraphs were only, there were only about 2 paragraphs in this assessment, and there were only 5 questions. So this assessment tells us how well Jonathan does in reading short paragraphs in a short amount of time. It doesn't really give us a good idea or an accurate idea of how well he does when he reads and listens to, let's say, a teacher in a classroom for 60 minutes to 90 minutes. Okay, so at least we have an idea of how well Jonathan does in a short amount of time, which is at the 6th grade level. And the last assessment that I had given Jonathan was to focus on his ability to read with comprehension. So with this assessment, I asked him to read a few paragraphs silently to himself, and then he answered 5 multiple choice questions. And the assessment places him at a grade level when he gets 80% of those questions correct. And he did that at the 5th grade level. And and I shared the results with his general ed teacher, Mr. Ronaldo, and his school psychologist, Mr. Messi. Okay. I shared the results with his general education teacher, Mr. Ronaldo, and his school psychologist. Okay. Okay. I shared the results. Okay. Okay, just keep going. Okay. Okay. I shared the results. Wait. Okay. All right. I shared the results. Okay. Oh, God. Okay. Okay. I shared the results with his general education teacher, and the school was like, stop. I'm not. Okay. I shared the results with his general education teacher and his school psychologist, and we believe that Jonathan would benefit from more time in my resource room, more than just once a week, which he does now, because he only comes for 1 hour once a week per his IEP. But we think that he would benefit from more small group instruction, which he would get into my classroom, and he would receive more intensive and individualized instruction in reading. So our suggestion would be for him to come to my resource class twice a week for 2 hours at a time on Monday and Tuesday. And he would be in the class with 6 other students, and he would also receive reading intervention from me, and then he would go to his language arts teacher for reading. While there, I will work with him in a small group and individually to give him strategies to improve his reading comprehension, and he will be given breaks, and we will be doing engaging activities and other fun things to do to help him stay focused and work through his ADHD. And the team's suggestion is to try this idea to have him in the resource room for 10 to 12 weeks, and then retest him with the Bergance assessments and see if there is improvement. And if there is improvement, then he can continue in my resource room, and then we can test him again several weeks later, and then hopefully eventually return him to his language arts teacher into her class, and if there's continued improvement. So what do you think about that plan?
I think it's a good idea. I agree.
Okay, great, wonderful. Well, I'm glad that you both agree. So I'll arrange to have him come to my room, Jonathan, from 8 to 10 on Mondays and Tuesdays for a few weeks, and then we'll retest him, and then we can meet again to discuss the results. So thank you both for coming. It was great to see you, and take care.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks, you too.
That